Hey, good evening, everyone. Look at you guys here already. Alicia and Michelle and Dave. Good evening to you guys. I hope you're all doing well. Oh, look at all the emojis. So cute. So, Alicia, you decided to grow and sell tomato starts. Nice. So you clear bag as a mini greenhouse. Perfect. There's so many things you can do to make a mini greenhouse out of these things. You can take like a Rubbermaid bin, a clear plastic bin, and just turn it over on that. I think sorry, I got a movie here. Jess at Roots and Refuge did that several years ago. She did a video on it, and it was like one of her highest videos. So it was like, it works. If you just put that over your seed trays and let the moisture stay in and the heat come in, and it works out perfectly. So good evening. Hey, Connie, hugs to you. Kiri, hello. Hey, Sarah, how are you tonight? Oh, Howie, hello. You have been busy. Oh my goodness. Hello, everybody. Eli, hello. Good evening to you. Good to see you here. You guys are so great. So for anybody that's new here watching this, I just want to let you know that I'm in West Central Minnesota. My name is Kathy, and I go live every Monday night at 6 p.m. Central Time, and for 1 hour. And if you want to get right to the meat and potatoes of what we're talking about, then usually around quarter after the hour, we get into it. So our first bit is just saying hi to everybody who's all part of our community and our friends. Excuse me. Karen, hello. Sean, hey. Super. Got your onions going. That's awesome. Monk and Momo, hello. I know. Isn't it beautiful, Sarah? We had a gorgeous day today. It's been sunny, a little breezy, but not too bad. I don't know what you hit. We hit about 45 degrees, I think. So it was warming up. Yes, for all of those who in the South or sunny, hot California, 45 is a nice day for us. So, Dave, you had 60. Nice. Red, yellow, and white. Oh, good for you. And I know that they're long day onions for your seeds because you told me, right? Oh, that's right, Parker. Thank you for reminding me. You'll probably have to remind me for a little while because that's such a cute name. Oh, but short-term memory thing at this time in my life is just kind of comes and goes, right? It's gloomy there. Oh, oh, Parker, I'm so sorry. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's not really how you want to lose your cilantro, right? Planted 3 rows of peas. Awesome. I would be planting things right now. I've got a couple blueberry bushes that I bought, but at the end of this week, we're supposed to get more snow and days. And there's at least 3 nights well below freezing. So I'm just holding off for a little bit, probably another week or so to plant my peas. And so we'll see. It's a cooler April for us than we normally have. I'm sorry to hear that you were sick, Kiri. Yeah, it's it's all depending on what your climate is. Yeah, your snow's coming, absolutely. So I think Friday is supposed to be. I'm supposed to have some rain, but then snow on Friday for sure. And then through the weekend, I think the high might be right around freezing, lows in the 20s, but yeah. So anyway, just, there's no need to hurry it. We'll have plenty of warm weather coming up, and it's just got to be patient. When you're connected with so many people around the world, really, but especially around our nation and around North America with all these different climates. And you hear people who've already been planting since February, in the deep South and other areas. And it's like, it makes us feel like we're so far behind. I mean, there's some that are already harvesting tomatoes and things. And it's like, I haven't even started my starts yet. So, but because of our days and our climate in the summer, we catch up very, very quickly. Most definitely. Hey, Michigan Daffodil. Shorts weather. There you go. Oh, Sean said he was wearing shorts. But yes. I mean, low 40s, mid 40s, everybody's running around in t-shirts and hoodies, and that's it. Oh, well, good. Ooh, maybe onions and leeks outside. Nice. Oh, wonderful. I know. It was just so nice to get some sunshine. Um, Sarah, oh, I'm glad I'm not the only one who hasn't started that yet. That's good. Oh, goodness sakes. Yes. So yeah, it's been staying cool. We've had rain and snow coming and going. I mean, this morning I woke up and everything was white again, and then gone by, noon for sure, and nice. And then we'll wake up tomorrow morning probably with either frost or some more snow on the ground or something. So, hey, Patty, thank you. Yes, Kiri, I know you really need some rain. Kiri, are you more in the western part of Texas? Like Texas, of course, is so vast. I know that the eastern part has been getting some rain. I just didn't know if where you are, if they've had any rain. So anyway, my onions are growing. Time for another haircut. Look at these babies. I mean, I cut them down to here last week. So in 1 week, this is what they've grown. So yeah, time for another haircut. So that's a good 3 inches in the week. I think that's pretty good growth there. And they're definitely getting more leaves. I would say almost every single one has 2 at this point, and it helps to keep them shorter because they stand up straight. Then they're not flopping down and making it hard on the root systems. I know those onions want to be outside, but they need to get a bit stronger before I'm going to let them outside here. That's for sure. Which ones are these? These are the yellow sweet Spanish ones. So, oh, they smell so good. They smell great. And I am still loving my timer. It's been working wonderfully. So you're 90 miles from Del Rio, 120 miles. What direction from San Antonio? Are you west of San Antonio? You're getting snow and rain right now. Okay, Gil. Yeah, ours is, every day we've got precipitation in the forecast. It just depends on what time of day and everything. So, we've got lots of road construction going on already. They figured today was the day to start, thinking that it would be nice and warm. But anyway, it's all going well. Oh no! Accidentally pulled one up. I'm going to stick you back in the ground, see if you'll grow. In the ground, in my dirt. So hopefully it'll go. All right, we got a haircut. I'll do the others later. But Anyway, yeah, these are the trimmings. So got them all done here. Yeah, oopsie. I was just standing it up. Oh, so you're technically on the western edge of the Texas Hill Country. Okay. Close to the eastern edge of West Texas. Okay, so I can kind of get some idea. So you're in the dry part of Texas either way, right? Obviously. So, um Sarah, I certainly will. Uh, so you guys having trouble with it? You know what, Gil, it could be your weather out there too, but no buffering here. Okay, good. Good, good, good. All righty. So everybody's had a good week. Are you getting ready for Easter? Um, do you have any plans to travel, be with family? I'll be running back and forth kind of all weekend. So it's going to be a busy weekend for me. I have a brother who has a birthday party on Saturday and then Easter Sunday, and just kind of all back and forth. But it'll be great. A weekend with family. So, hey, Julie. Hello. I missed you. I missed seeing you come in. There you go. All right. Um, all right. So tonight we are going to talk about, we've been talking about all kinds of different gardening things, and um, you know, this is, I think, the 6th week now that I've been doing things. Last week we talked about the garden tools that are helpful. We've talked about growing onions, obviously, because Sean loved that one. And there's always so much question on how do I water? When do I water? Am I watering too much? There's so many voices out there on what's the right way to water and different things. I want to start out by saying that it all depends on your climate, what kind of soil you have. If you have a sandier soil, if you have raised beds, you're in ground, you're in containers. If you're in the dry deserty part of Texas, or if you're in the cool northern parts of Canada, I mean, it all depends on what you're doing and what you're growing, and if you're in a drought or not. So there's so many different factors, so many different factors that you have to take. So just what one person in Kansas says works great, this is the way you have to do it, doesn't mean it's going to work for you in Florida or in California or in Nova Scotia or wherever, or in Minnesota. So I'm going to give some standard practices, and then you have to figure out, through trial and error, really, what is going to work best for you, and to do that. So, it's so I put the links below that I found were some really helpful websites. Exactly, Dave. Every bed can be different because of how much amendment you put in, what kind of stuff you put in, or what you actually planted. Bigger plants take up more water. So if you have a bed of onions compared to a bed of tomatoes, your bed of tomatoes is going to take up more water than your bed of onions, and different things. There's so many different factors. um, so kind of some basic things are, if you water way too long, you create an open invitation for fungus. So if you water too little and roots become shallow, then you don't have very good plants. They can be small, they produce small fruit, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm sorry that you guys are buffering. I don't see any on my end. Okay, yeah, it could be still the weather there. Yep, Patty, exactly. There's no easy 1, 2, 3 things. So, hi, Minnesota Mama Bear. Hello. I know it's very, very easy to to overwater, especially if you're looking at like, oh man, the soil looks so dry, right? But you got to figure out what it is where the roots are. If you have a shallow root um, vegetable, like beans have fairly shallow roots compared to like tomatoes and carrots and stuff like that. Um, so you want to water those more often than you would those that have really deep roots. So you just have to really watch your vegetables and your plants, your flowers too. Some like 4 o'clocks will sink a root really deep. They'll go 1 to 2 feet deep down, and it's like you don't have to water them very often. But some others are very shallow. So if you water in the evening, insects come out to feast, and you're inviting other pests and more fungus and everything. If you water from too high, you put in the sprinkler and just have it going, um, you can sometimes lose half your moisture to evaporation. So, what are some of the ways to really get the most out of your water that you're using, especially if you're in a drought or you have your cost, if you're on city water, the cost is really expensive, all that kind of thing. Or if you are relying on the water that you have caught, your water catchment system, if you're relying only on that, you want to be able to use it to the very best of your ability. So, um, this note that I have here from one of the articles, it says that poor watering habits are a real crime, literally. In some parts of the country where drought conditions have led to government imposed restrictions, there can be some illegal things there. So, you have to really be careful because water is a precious resource, whether or not that you garden. And so, collecting for water for your garden with rain barrels, if it's legal where you are, that's really, really a great thing to be able to do. I have to start setting mine up this week with the rain that's coming so that I have extra water for just watering my starts here inside. And, it'll be great, great water, nice and clean and clear. Um, so, some quick facts are to water your garden so that your plants always have enough moisture. If you have sandy, well drained soil, you might only need to, you might have to water 2, even 3 times a week, depending on the heat and everything. For me, sometimes I have to water every day. In last summer when we were over 100 degrees and the plants were little and it was just cooking off all the moisture in the 3 to 4 inches down, I was watering twice a day. So, you just have to really, really watch what's happening because every year is different. Oh, good. I'm glad things are clearing up a little bit. Um, we'll get into that, Mama Bear, in a little bit. Yeah, so different hours and everything. For soils that hold moisture, such as heavier clay soils or loamy soils that are rich in organic matter, sometimes watering once a week is fine. I know that Luke at My Gardener, he only waters deeply once a week, sometimes once every 2 weeks, that he just lets it go in his beds and just goes down. My plants would never survive with that. Um, I have a different climate than he does in Michigan. So even though we're northern states, just everything is so different for me. And then soil covered by mulch will retain water much better, and you can even water less often with that. So, Kiri, I totally understand it. Yeah, you would have to water twice. Um, yes, Patty, absolutely. Like I just said, mulch really helps keep the moisture in. So checking the soil conditions to determine if it is time to water. So if you have it mulched and you don't know if they're dry or not because all you see is the 4 inches of mulch that you have over it, remove some from the soil surface and then use a spade or a trowel to dig into the soil. Because I showed you those tools last week. Um, the top inch may be dry, but the soil below should be somewhat moist. If it is dry 2 inches below the surface, it's time to water. So if you have mulch and it's still dry that far down, then it's time to water. But if you remove the mulch and you dig down and you've got some really good soil, some wet soil going on, just hold off because you don't want root rot in your plants going on and getting some fungus and everything. Um, Odd and even sides of the road water. Okay. um, the rain and small snowflakes has turned into snow. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's really coming down then, Gil. Definitely. Um, all right. So it says, do not wait for rain or for the perfect time to water. So if you are looking in the morning at your plants and you're going, oh, they really need water, but it's supposed to rain this afternoon, go ahead and water anyway, because there's no guarantee that, first of all, that it's going to rain in the afternoon. And then the other thing is that if your plants are dry and wilting and the soil is dry, they need water right then. So you don't want to hold off on that. It's just like, you know, if your child is super thirsty, but you know you're going to have lunch in half an hour and you just like, no, you just wait until till lunch and then we'll have something to drink. What would you do? You give your child a glass of water, right? Because they're so thirsty. You wouldn't deprive them of that. So if your plants need that, give them that because otherwise they're going to be so under stress and it's going to affect the plants. So, yes, it may go around you, absolutely, or not rain at all. So, hey, Henry Leslie, Vermont, good afternoon or good evening. Hello from the banks of Chase Brook. Okay, good. I'm glad you have plenty of rain. That is wonderful. Yeah, we had quite a drought last year. So, don't know. I mean, the NOAA says that it's supposed to be a drought again this year, hot and dry. But apparently, Farmer's Almanac said that it's supposed to be cool. So we'll see. We'll see how it comes up. So far, April is cooler. Um, Not necessarily a lot of rain. I mean, we've been getting more snow than anything, but um, you know, we're still okay on moisture levels. So, okay. Some of the do's and don'ts of watering plants and your lawns efficiently. So, when is the best time to water plants? That's a really popular question. So, the best time that I've come across the board is to water early in the morning when the sunlight is weakest. So the ground is coolest and the foliage will have hours to dry before nightfall. So aim between 5 a.m. and 10 a.m. So yes, when they are thirsty. That's true. Best time to water them when they're thirsty. But so if you're going to do like your whole garden, just get them all done, do it in the morning. Um, for a few years, I used to do it at night because it would retain the moisture, but there again brought in fungus, different things. So, if yeah, it's just going to help retain, some moisture early in the morning. The plants are waking up and they're going to draw up all of that, and they will be stronger then to withstand the sun and the everything that's beating down on them during the day. So don't water in the evening when the soil is warm, and wet foliage can then attract the insects, fungus, and disease. So that's another little thing that I wanted, just a little side thing, that if you water in the morning, and you do happen to get the leaves wet and everything, because I'm going to talk about that. Um, just make sure you don't handle your bean plants because when they're wet, don't handle bean leaves when they're wet because that transfers fungus and blight and all that kind of stuff. Beans are notorious for that. So do be careful with that. I was just going to ask, the morning is the best time to water in the heat. Yes. And so if it's going to be a really hot day, I would say try to get out there as early as you can, just after the sun rises or something like that. The people have a set schedule and then have a hot day and the plants are flagging before they can water in the evening. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So, all right. So they said that, yeah, the time of day you water is important. Said midday watering is actually better for plants, but it's bad for your water bill because much of the water is lost through evaporation. They do say don't water your plants at noon, midday like that, because first of all, you're gonna lose most of the water that you put in the soil. It's just gonna cook right off. But also, if you get water on your leaves of your plants, you can get sunburn, sun scald, all that kind of stuff so easily because all your little leaves are pretty tender and you get water on that. And it's just, it's like going to the beach and getting a sunburn, in the middle of the day. So, um, again, between 5 and 10 in the morning when the sun is low, winds are calm, and temperatures are cool. So that is the ideal time. They have a tip here. Water pressure from municipal water treatment facilities is actually typically higher in the morning. So it takes less time to deliver the same amount of water in the morning as it does during the day or night. So a little tip, you can get your watering done more quickly. You have more water pressure. So thank you guys so much. Yeah, Dave, I've got my own well too, but yeah, so it really doesn't make any difference for me with the water pressure, but that's interesting if you're in the city limits or something and you're on city water that you have better pressure then. Um, if you need to water, oh, let me see. It says don't water lightly and more often. So give them a lot of water. Says soak the soil to a depth of 5 or 6 inches at least. You want to encourage the roots to grow deeper, which in the long run will make a healthier garden too. It says if the water can reach the roots, the part of the plant that needs the nutrients, sugars, and hormones will be contained there in the water. So you want to water deeply. I've seen people that'll just parched garden. This was flowers, and it was just so dry, and the plants were all wilting and everything. And they watered, and it only went down like half an inch or something because it looked like, oh, I got enough water there. But I moved some of the soil aside, and it was just maybe not even half an inch that was wet on the top. And so I kind of went back later on the sly and took the hose and just soaked those plants. And they were just like, they were gorgeous after that. So, so you want to be able to just soak things. Um, what size tomato plant do you transfer to a 5-gallon bucket? A 5-gallon bucket. I would say that should be, what would you guys say? 10 to 12 inches high at least, to transfer to that size. And that's above the soil. So make sure that it's got a good strong stem, good root system, different things like that. Okay. So Watering lightly and more often promotes shallow root growth. As I said before, you just don't want to be going out all the time and doing that. Um, like, unless you're like in the desert and you have to water it more often. But um, the it just try to stick to a routine. The plants like that. And the routine can change according to what your weather is. If you're going through a rainy spell, your rainy season or something, or if you're going through this really hot spell, it's gonna be different. So, direct water at the base of the plant. Avoid wetting the foliage, which invites fungus. Also, you'll lose less water to evaporation. And since you're applying the water directly to the root zone, the water will be readily available to the plant roots. So try not to water from overhead. I have seen a few well-known channels do that, just especially with their starts, just watering from above. There's they always say make sure that you put your cells in another tray so that you can just water from underneath and everything. Um, it's I guess I would say try both. Figure out what works for you, but it is better to get to the roots than trying to water the leaves in the long run. So, thank you, Michigan Daffodil, for doing that. Oh, Sarah, you have to go. Okay, thanks so much for coming on. Talk to you later. Um, so don't water from overhead. Actually, if you do that, depending on the size of the plant, the water may never actually hit the ground because the foliage may be making like an umbrella there. So you're not even getting water on the ground, you're just watering the leaves, and you want to make sure the water gets to the roots. So, um, if you're using irrigation systems, whether it's a drip tape or whatever you have set up, um, make sure the fixtures are close to the ground. Don't have them sitting up 12 inches off the ground or something like that. If you're using, excuse me, if you're using a sprinkler, opt for very small sprinklers that allow you to change the water delivery patterns. Um, Make sure that they shoot out horizontally and not up. So if they go horizontally, then they'll just get the stems and the soil and things like that. So they're not getting all um, on the leaves. Because again, when it's on a sprinkler, it'll come out at a higher speed, and you'll lose some to the wind or evaporation or whatever. Um, So again, you want to use your water to the very best of ability. All right, so for trees and shrubs, especially newly planted ones, direct water every 7 to 10 days, which means put that hose right on them. You don't necessarily want to just take 5-gallon buckets and just dump it right away because it can just run off. You want it to be able to soak down to the roots. So, kind of the rule of thumb is young trees with a trunk diameter of 2 inches or less. So I'm thinking about, like, people are planting all their fruit trees and different things, and even deciduous trees or whatever that are out there. But 2 inches or less diameter, it needs at least 10 gallons of slow trickled water each week. Um, and you can do it in different ways. Um, there are like actually water meters you could put on a hose if you need to find out. You just want to lay your hose there, and it's like, okay, well, how much water have I given it? And it kind of takes the guesswork out of it. But you could also um, take a 5-gallon bucket and to measure it out, and then put it into another bucket that's got little holes drilled into it or something. I mean, there are different things that you could do, but you want it to be a slow trickled water that comes out. If you have a tree that's up to 6 inches in diameter, you need to double that amount, 20 gallons every week. So, most mature trees tolerate drought conditions better than young ones because their root systems have developed out. Um, Landscape shrubs should be watered every 7 to 10 days, maybe 5 to 7 days in the summer. And again, make sure you deep soak them. And it's okay for those to dry out a little bit between waterings. Um, However, moisture-loving rhododendrons and azaleas need a constant supply of moisture and should not be allowed to dry out completely. You have fairly constant rain. You don't really need to irrigate trees. That's so great, Dave. You're just very blessed up there. Absolutely. Thanks, Patty. That's so sweet. Oh, and we have our other Patty here. Hello. How are you, darling? Oh, gotta get my little southern darling in there, right? So, again, to reduce the risk of fungal diseases by watering the base of plants rather than the tops, and we're talking about shrubs there too. So don't just water the top of the shrub. Now, if it has been a drought and it's super dusty and the plants are covered with dust, sure, give them, a little shower. Spray that dirt off of there to help them in there, but make sure that the watering that you do is at the base. So, you know what? That's so great, Dave. Yeah, once a week. If I were guaranteed a good thunderstorm once a week, so I could get it, my trees need a minimum of 1 inch of water a week. Um, my front trees, especially my birches, and because they dry out so quickly, they have a very shallow root system, and so they need a lot. But we can easily go 5 or 6 weeks easily without any rain. So, um, yeah, the azaleas like their moisture. They grow great in Louisiana, and it's always really moist down there. So, all right. So, if you're going to get into any hoses and soaker type of systems, soaker hoses are great to use. You do drip tapes, all those kind of things that are just laying on the ground near the plants and just can continually put out a little bit of water all the time and soak it and let it drip and different things. So, again, make sure it hits the ground, not the plant. Thanks, Alicia. Um, don't use overhead sprinklers. I've made all of these mistakes. So you guys don't try to, think that, oh, I can't grow if I'm a terrible gardener if I do this. I didn't know, and it's like I had one of those nice tall, it worked great. Nice tall sprinkler that could stick in the middle of the garden. It would just, psh, and it was just like rain coming down for the whole garden. And it was great. The one thing you have to remember about the difference between rain and sprinkling is that when it rains, generally there's a little bit of wind with it. And so it'll move the plants and be able to rain underneath, get the soil. Um, Either that or it rains so hard, comes down so hard, straight down that it runs right off and it does soak the ground. So, whereas the sprinkler is just, kind of it's just lightly hitting it. And so, it's just try not to use overhead ones because there again, you're just getting the leaves wet and all that kind of stuff. Try to use, if you're using a hose, last week we talked about this, having a watering wand. They're wonderful because you can reach in under the plants, in your rows or your beds or something. It can reach in under there. You can turn it. And so you're not having to water the top of it. And it's easy on the root systems. It's easy on all that kind of stuff. If the soil is really dry, slow, steady, yes. Good point, Patty. Absolutely. Um, well, Parker, that's great. I'm glad that you have that. Yes, if your ground is very, very dry, especially if it's hard, you want to give it a little bit of water and then come back and give a little more so that it can soak a little bit at a time. Um, yeah, just try to get the leaves in or the hose in underneath the any kind of plant that you have. So rain shadows, like trees and shrubs, can keep water from plants alongside. Oh, there you go. Okay. Thanks, Henry, for coming. Appreciate it. What do you need to do in the parts of the yard that has moss growing? That usually is an indication of plenty of moisture there. Are you trying to grow something else in that area? Um, I would say, I mean, if moss is growing, there's plenty of moisture there. Take a trowel, a hand trowel, and dig down a little bit, see what the moisture is in the soil, and see what's there. If you're growing in that area, you're not going to be getting a lot of sun, first of all. So you might want to watch that because your plants do need sun, and moss usually grows on the north side where there's not as much sun. So kind of just look at it and see what it's doing. Um, I know Michigan daffodil, isn't that great? Patty is just she's a wealth of information. Um, Due to lack of regular rain, it takes repeated waterings. Yeah, exactly. So grass in place of moss, you have sandy soil. Okay. um, Make sure that it's a grass seed that is good in the shade. If that's in the shady area, if you're growing moss there. Um, if you don't have a lot of moss, don't discount what that moss can end up doing for your area too. And it's a very beneficial thing to have. But if you have a lot of it and you want grass in there, yeah, I would say make sure that it's a grass that can stand the shade, and then water it well until it's well established, I guess. And just like any other plants, keep track of the moisture level on it. Um, so when you're yes, again, when you water with the hose, um, if your plants are well established, you don't have to have anything on the end of the hose if you wanted to stick it under there and soak everything in that way. But try not to use the kind of trigger sprayer thing because it comes out so fast and just sprays all over. There's no control with that. And it's too hard on your plants, and it wets the foliage and all that kind of stuff. So uh, water scalding plants if watering in full sun. Yes, in fact, I did talk about that already, Patty. But thank you. Oh, it's actually a myth. Seedlings might be damaged if not hard enough, but the rest should be fine. Huh. That I didn't see. Um, where would you buy grass sods? Grass seeds or sods? Um, you'd have to research online, Alicia. I don't have anything right offhand, but oh, okay, okay. Um, well, that's interesting because I hadn't come across that any of my research or anything else that I've come across. So, did not know that that was a myth. But thank you. Um, all right. So, container gardening, you got to make sure that you water them regularly and frequently. Typically once a day during hot, dry spells. Stick your finger in the soil again if it feels dry, all the way to your second knuckle, which is about 2 inches. Um, then it's time to water. Don't think that container gardens need watering only when everything else does. Pots hold heat, and so the confined soil dries out faster than the garden soil does. Big thing, big thing. So, um, I would say, and just make sure you mulch everything. That really, really helps with retaining water in the heat of the summer is just mulch. And I'll get through to a few more kinds of mulch. So I'm only halfway through here. I'm running out of time. Okay. I'll try to be quick here. So the secret to keeping container gardens looking their best hinges on watering. If plants wilt, that's usually a sign that soil is dry. However, plants can also succumb to root rot and they will wilt from that. So if you're seeing it wilting, you have to check the soil. If it's still really damp and it's wilting, then you've got other issues going there. But another quick way to do it is to pick up your pot. If it feels light, it's very dry. Because when that soil is saturated with water, you need to, then it's going to be heavy. Um, but if your pots are light, it's like, oh, they're just way too dry. Um, at the start of the growing season, plants needed to be watered less frequently. As the summer heat starts to sizzle, plants become lush. You're going to need to water your containers more often, sometimes even twice a day. So, if you decide to go off on vacation in the middle of summer, make sure that somebody comes by and does it. Otherwise, you'll come home to little crispy things in your pots. um, and again, larger pots need less watering than smaller ones. Um, container blends of soil don't get waterlogged easily, which also means then that they need to be watered more frequently. So if you're using potting soil that's got all kinds of different blends of things in there, they won't hold on to the water as much. So you're going to need to water more frequently. Um, hey, Drops. Hello. You use a 3-in-1 meter to check the moisture. Very cool. Very, very cool. There are some mats that you could put in the bottom of containers that can help to hold in more moisture for your plants. There's some hydro mats that are made from various materials. Some are kind of like a batting, similar to like quilt batting and stuff like that. But otherwise, you can get more organic type of things like cocoa mats and choir mats. I don't know if that's the right word, but anyway, there are different mats that you can get in there, even filling it with peat and stuff like that under there. So temperature changes from cool to warmer. The sun will cause plants to wilt just like we do. Yeah. Hey, Lori. Oh, well, thanks. Thank you for coming in. Appreciate it. Thanks, Gil. You have a good time. You can do self-watering kits for pots. There are drip irrigation systems for containers. Just use watering cans and again, a good wand for your hose, that type of thing. Okay, some people are wondering if you're supposed to put gravel or clay shards in the bottom of containers to improve the drainage. It sounds good, makes sense. So this is a common piece of gardening advice, but it's true only for pots that don't have holes. If you're placing a container plant inside a larger container that doesn't have holes, putting some coarse material in the bottom of the container does help keep the roots out of excess water. But if you're planting directly into the larger container, then it's only a partial help. So the key thing to remember is that water naturally flows to the finer material. So it will flow um, to the dry soil, or peat moss or whatever. It's gonna flow to that to get absorbed. It's not going to naturally go into the air spaces. And you also making a big bath with pond plastic-free cloth bags. Cool, cool. Um, so the best way to ensure good drainage is to use a good quality potting soil. Don't use garden soil because it's too dense for potting. All right. So again, for lawns, just really quick, water your lawns, give them 1 inch of water a week during dry spell. With a sprinkler, it usually takes about an hour and a half. Um, if you if you water less or something, it will affect the roots and all that kind of stuff. And remember that sandy soil drains quickly, clay soil holds water. So that will determine what how you water and different things like that. Um, Coir is better for the planet than peat. It's a waste product. Oh, that's good to know. Thanks, Dave. Yes, just make sure that you have drainage holes in all your pots. That's really the best thing to do. Um, if you're watering on, let's say your lawn or garden is on a slope and you're watering on that and it's been really compacted down from either walking through it or heavy rains or whatever. Anyway, it gets compacted. Try watering in stages, again, like what Patty was talking about in her beds. Um, Try watering in stages to achieve the best absorption. Um, the lawn until you see runoff and then stop. Wait until the runoff subsides and then start again. So you got to give it a chance to get down. Again, mulch, mulch, mulch. It suppresses weeds, stabilizes soil temperatures, adds organic matter, and improves the look of your landscape. Cover the base of everything, trees, shrubs, flowers, and veggies, with a 2 to 4 inch layer of mulch. What are some of the best things to use? With pine needles, straw, wood chips made from pine, redwood, cypress, or cedar. You don't want to, those are the best ones. You don't want to just go and get any old wood chip because it could end up having other um, absorption of fungus issues, that type of thing. So, um, and then cocoa hulls are really good. Cottonseed hulls, crushed pecan shells. So for those in the South who have cotton and pecans, you should be able to get a good supply of that. And those in the North with redwood or cypress, cedar, um, it really makes a difference. And you're adding organic matter back into your soil. So it's just awesome, excellent, and everything. So Patty, you're using for the first time a potting soil with coconut fibers in it, and plants are not growing well. And what does the other Patty have to say with it? Say about that? With potting soil, you get what you pay for. Yep, some soilless mixes do not have nutrients. Exactly. Yeah, it's if you're planting in containers and pots and everything, it just doesn't pay to go with a really cheap brand. Make sure that you're getting something that is going to work well. So, all right, my garden tip for tonight. Oh, and all of the information that I have, I put in the show notes below. It's from the Farmer's Almanac, from the University of Minnesota Extension Service, and HGTV. So, on the tips on how to water and everything else. So, Dave, you've got a great mix there. Absolutely. You bought three-way mix and paid good money for it and had way too much potassium in it. Yep, free mulch and fertilizer. There you go. That's it, Gary. All right. So if you've considered my garden tip, if you've considered a drip system at all and you just like thinking about it for a few years and tossing it around, do your research to find out what fits your budget. Check out reviews on how they work. If you are going to use the tape, or if you're going to use a hose, a soaker hose, or a whole system that has, that's all connected throughout your garden, that has a pump and all this other kind of stuff. Get what's best for your garden setup and your soil. And this might be the year that you add it. Who knows? Potassium binds up the ability for the plants to take up nitrogen. Oh, wow. Okay. Good to know not to use too much of that. And then my prep tip is as this winter fades, as we're closing it out, and our clothes are changing into spring and summer, look for clearance sales on winter clothes that you know that you will need next year, especially for growing children. Thrift stores and garage sales are moving out of their winter things too. So, they're going to have sales. They're going to just like want to get rid of all of their stuff. They don't want to store it for next year because they know that they will get a lot more in through the summer. There's always, yeah, garage sales are great things to take part in. But always make sure that you have the proper clothing for your climate, even for the unexpected cold fronts. So, you in Texas and Louisiana and Mississippi and even Florida, yes, you know that you can get down into the teens in the winter with ice storms and all kinds of stuff. So, oh, there you go, Dave. Yep, the last snowblower at Lowe's. Yes, winter garden tools, or not garden, winter tools like snowblowers, shovels, just anything else that you would need for snow removal. They're just trying to get rid of them. They don't want to keep them in storage because they want to have all of their summer things out and be able to sell that. So they need room for it. So they need to move things out. Contact burpees, what you'd recommend if you had trouble with those mixes. All right. Generally, lettuce doesn't like a bunch of nitrogen, about 5 levels. Okay. You layer in winter. Yeah. And you know what? We all layer here too, but it depends on what those layers are. It's like if they're all thin cotton layers, it's not going to keep you warm or necessarily dry or prevent the wind from coming through either. So, just kind of, and I know in the South it's hard to find anything that would be warm enough that we're used to. It's like, oh, okay, we have, special thermal stuff and just, oh, this jacket, this weight feels good. It's this thick of, padding around different things. So, um, yes. So, Patty, you're the weird lady at garage sales that goes directly to the back for garden things. Well, see, it's a good thing that nobody else is going in the back for garden things, right? Um, the soil that you got that year, it was nuts. The second year after the rains washed all of the um, potassium excess out of the soil, it really helped. Okay. Yes, Emma Gardner, hi Debbie, has some great tips for seed starting, for growing, for different things out there. So he's, for making a good seed starting mix, all of those things. So yeah, definitely check him out. migardner.com. Sorry. But anyway, you guys, I'm just so glad that you came tonight. Thank you so much for spending this last hour with me. And I feel like I just talk so much. I don't let you guys get a word in edgewise. And oh, it really is hard to have a one-way conversation sometimes. But no, your questions, your comments, keep it going. I appreciate that. Oh yeah, Parker, I think it's the type of material we have too, whether how um it's got to be a little bit better made and I don't know how to say this. I mean, it's got to have a better thermal weight to it as well as the the type of product it is, and we just have to sell that up here because we have to have it. So, um, oh, thank you, Parker. I appreciate that. Um, so thanks, Dave. Appreciate you coming, and you guys. Time to wrap this up, but you guys just have an excellent gardening year and have a wonderful, blessed Easter. And thank you for coming. Take care. Have a great week and always have hope. God bless. Bye bye.